Okay, it is 10 a.m. and we do have a quorum, so let's go ahead and call this August 2nd meeting of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee to order. A quick roll call of members. Councilman Ed Kunkel.
Here.
And Commissioner Carolina Mejia. I don't hear her. Port Commissioner Joe Downing. I do not hear him either. And Council Member Lisa Parsley. Council Member Joan Cathy.
Present.
Thank you, Joan.
Aye.
Council Member Elaine Clam.
Present.
Hi, Elaine.
Hi.
Council Member Kirsten Presley.
Good morning. I am present.
And District 2 Representative Richard Moon.
Here.
Very good. And Delroy Cox representing industry.
Here.
Excellent. Chad Sutter representing industry. I'm not hearing Chad. And David Nightingale representing business. I think he told us he wasn't going to be able to be here this week. Laura Busby from the Department of Ecology.
Hello, everyone.
Hi, Laura. And I think that is it for our members. Jeff, do you want to go ahead and introduce staff?
Real quick, Greg Schumacher's here on.
Oh, Greg,
Sorry.
sorry.
I think I jumped in the middle there, so sorry about that.
Yeah.
And actually, I will mention, just before I get the staff, we have 2 members that will be reappointed to the board here in about a week and a half, and that's Greg Schoenbachler and Joseph Richardson.
Perfect.
Because their terms had expired, but they're in the process, and the board is set to
Well, and we just heard from
approve those in
Greg.
a few weeks.
Yeah, we just heard from Greg, and I see Joseph is here too. So
I did
welcome.
want to mention that before I got the staff. So
Thank you. I appreciate that, Jeff.
okay, in the room at Public Works, we have Amanda Romero.
Morning.
Yes.
And just a quick note when I start here. First off, I think if you recall, I mentioned last month that Dean Benning had left us. Amanda is here in a new capacity. She is now our senior program manager for the Solid Waste Division. So anyway, congratulations to her, and we're happy to continue to have her here. So
Congratulations. Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
And Carolina Mejia is here. I know she missed roll call, but she's here.
Excellent. Thank you.
we also have in the room there Sherry Parsons. I believe she's taking minutes today, as well as Scott Keith. These are communications, and he's waving there. Additionally, let me see, who else do we have here from the county? We have Jennifer Walker, our director, of course. And I see Rob Pudner.
Morning.
And I think that's it for staff. It is. So as far as guests, let me look down here. We have, let's see, we have Aaron Robertson.
Good morning.
Bryce Hesterman. I'm not familiar with Bryce.
Hello.
Um,
Presenting today.
let's see, Nick Harbert.
Yeah, good morning, everyone. Nick Harbert, WM.
Tom Rupert.
Good morning, everybody.
And Tracy Bills.
Good morning, representing HDR. Thanks, Jeff.
I'm looking down this list. Did I miss anybody? Okay.
Excellent. Thank you, Jeff. With that, it's been requested that we move the vote on the SWAC membership code to the bottom of the agenda following our presentations for today. If everyone is good with that, I would entertain a motion to approve today's meeting agenda.
So moved.
Thank you. Do we have a second?
Second.
I'll second.
All those in favor, please say aye.
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 All those opposed, nay. We have an agenda for today's meeting. Have you all had a chance to take a look at the minutes from our July meeting? I'm going to take that as a yes. And if so, do we have a motion to approve the minutes from our July 5th meeting?
So
So moved.
Thank you. I think that's Richard. I'm looking at my agenda on screen. Yes, it was Richard. Thank you. And do we have a second?
I'll second it.
Thanks, Delroy. Your last official action. All those in favor of approving the minutes of our July 5th meeting, please say aye.
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 All right.
All those opposed, please say nay. And we have approved the minutes of the July 5th meeting. I don't believe we have any public comments. And this isn't really old business, but I do want to share with this committee and publicly thank Delroy Cox for his many years of service on this volunteer committee. And Delroy, how many years have you been with us?
Well, I joined the SWAC in 1992.
Oh my goodness, that's a few days. And I just have to share, and I'm sure everybody on this committee feels this way, but I've learned so much from you. And I just have appreciated the short amount of time that I've gotten to serve with you on this committee. And I wish you well in whatever you are leaving us to do. So thank you so much for your service. And if anybody else wants to say just a word of thanks to Delroy, now would be a good time to do that.
Yes.
Thank you, Delroy. Appreciate it.
Right, I will chip in here. Actually, and this will be something that'll be coming to you, Delroy. The Board of County Commissioners has created. I know
Oh,
it's kind of
nice.
fuzzy. It's hard to read, but it's in appreciation of your service. This certificate is presented with thanks to Delroy Cox for your 30+ years of service on the Thurston County Solid Waste Advisory Committee. We extend our best wishes and sincere appreciation on this special occasion, presented the second day of August 2023, Board of County Commissioners, and signed by all 3 commissioners. So we'll be sending this to you. And again, thank you so much for your dedication and your commitment and all your input and feedback. And it's, again, we really appreciate it.
Yeah, I'm really going to miss you, Delroy. Your thoughtful comments and support during the solid waste management plan process were just invaluable. And as I said earlier, I've learned so much from you about this business, and I'm just grateful for having had the opportunity to serve with you. So thank you.
I'd like to say that
Sure.
Delroy, I may have to quit also because you've been on here. You've been here ever since I've been on this committee, and that's been a while. And that's how I ever got up to speed. I just listened to you, and we had a few little side talks and all kinds of things. So I don't know. I'm not sure how to function exactly with you leaving. I'm going to miss you. I'm going to just miss seeing you and knowing everything's under control with you here. And if we have any questions, you answer them. So I'm going to miss you. I wish you well. People always say stay in touch, but it's hard when you don't have a meeting to go to. But I hope I do see you or be able to talk to you sometime again. So blessings on you.
Thank you.
So if you run around the halls of the Capitol, you'll run into Delroy.
Yeah.
I would certainly like to thank everybody. I really appreciated over the years working with everyone. It's been a great experience, and yes, I'll miss you all. Thank you very much.
Thanks, Delroy. So under new business, the first thing we'll do today is hear an update on the Washington Organics Management Law.
Thank you for the opportunity to present some information on this new law. Let me get my presentation started here. Take me a second. Have to do everything in the right order, or so you got the last slide, I think.
It's beautiful, that last slide.
Thank you. Well, we'll get there, hopefully. So as you may know, I'm Laura Busby, and I am the, there we go. I am the grant manager and planner for the Department of Ecology for Thurston County. And today what I'd like to do is briefly run through a couple of particular aspects of the Organics Management Law. But in order to get that started, I want to first emphasize, I don't know about you, but to me lately, climate change has been feeling very real. And the biggest sources of greenhouse gas emissions, as we know, are these things that we see in this picture. And surprisingly, or maybe not to you, landfills are 15%, according to US EPA. There is a significant percent, 15% of the methane emissions that we have. So I'm going pretty quickly through these introductory beginning slides in order to get to the meat of what we want to talk about today. So why methane? Why do we worry? We always hear about carbon dioxide, at least I have, as a greenhouse gas to worry about. But the truth is methane is significantly more potent as a greenhouse gas. And as you can see here, it's 84 times more potent over 20 years and has a 28 as compared to carbon dioxide, and has a 28 times more global warming potential over a 100-year span. So pretty significant. And if we look at the state, we start out talking there about the US, but if we look at the statewide disposal of organics into our landfills, that's at 22.8%. That's organics, not including paper, wood, construction materials. If we include all of that, it's over 50%, about 52% of our disposed waste stream. So organics are really a large consideration when we're talking about this particular issue. So I just wanted to emphasize that the goals of this organic management law are really about methane and minimizing methane. So there's 5 strategies you see listed at the bottom. I'm not going to talk about those a lot today, but those are sort of the strategies by which these goals will be reached. And that's to divert 75% of previously disposed organic materials by 2030, and to rescue 20% of previously disposed edible food for human consumption by 2025. So obviously important things that we can do, or we're going to try to do. So this is the law and the different strategies that are listed across the bottom, and how the 9 different parts of this law break out into those strategies. Today, we're going to talk about business organics management and residential and non-residential collection. And that's the 2 pieces that we're going to focus on here, and how they relate to Thurston County. So I just should mention, I'm happy to answer questions, but I won't wait till the end in order to do that. So if you have them, make a note, and I'm happy to try and answer any questions. This is the timeline, and it's a little overwhelming. I don't want to read all of it to you, but I do want to point out that In 2023, the compost procurement ordinance was required. Thurston County has that in place. July, we have a business organics materials requirement that Ecology has posted, and I'll share more about that. And then throughout 2024, 2025, and then 26, 27, different components or changes to the law come into play as we move along. And we'll talk a little more about these as we go through here. So let's focus first on the business organic management requirements. And so, first of all, what is a business, right? What does that mean? So business is a commercial or public entity, not including, not limited to, you can see here, partnerships, proprietorships, joint stock companies, corporations, or associations as for-profits. In this particular definition, it does not, a nonprofit, it does include schools and hospitals, and also includes landscapers and that sort of work. So it does not, though, in this particular context, include multifamily residential units. So those are kind of some delineations here for business. So the requirements are that business organic management must arrange for organic materials management services based on these three factors. And I'm gonna, I hate reading slides to you, but I think it's important to understand these components. If curbside collection is not just organics, but also food waste provided to businesses, and these materials are delivered to an organics management facility. So, if those year-round curbside organics collection services are available, if there are places that can accept those additional materials, and the amount of organic material and solid waste produced is another component of these requirements. So the business, how much do they produce? Is curbside collection available? And then where will it go? So those are sort of the three components of this. The timeline as this falls out is that July, Ecology is to determine and post the requirements and where in the state these requirements apply. And we'll talk about that in a minute. In 2024, in January, businesses that are generating 8 cubic yards of organic waste per week need to comply. That changes in 2025 to businesses generating 4 cubic yards of organic material waste, so specific to organic material. And then a big change in 2026, any businesses generating 4 cubic yards of solid waste, not just organic material, per week. So you can see that this is phased in over time to capture more and more businesses that are producing organic material and waste. So where do these requirements apply? So we are required to, by July 1st, we were required to post where these things apply, and therefore what businesses apply in those areas. And so here's the statewide map that we currently have published on our website, and we're calling it the BOMA, Business Government, we love our acronyms, Business Organics Management Areas. And these areas show the places in the state where, based on the data that we have at this time, where these requirements apply. And so the blue categories there, and as you can see, all of Thurston County is in that blue section. So those 3 different timeline dates I just mentioned will apply in the county. I'm going to zoom in a little bit here just to show you a little bigger of the same map and all of Thurston County there. There is, well, let's take a look at the spreadsheet. So this is sort of a massive spreadsheet that we manage on all the counties in the state in order to determine, to track our information and determine. And right now we're specifically looking at this one section here this piece that's in the darker bold here. So this is business organic material management requirements. So this is specific to business. These other columns are, this was the compost procurement. We're looking at this, we'll look at this next. So as you can see, these apply in all of the cities and in the unincorporated part of the county. And so there is collection opportunities, and that's where we have these phased in January 2024. So this is just, and this is something that I have sent to Jeff, and that we can review if there are any errors or anything like that on there. I would want to know that. So what do we count in this business waste, organic waste? It includes food waste, as you can see, just about everything you can imagine related to food waste, other organic waste, manure, food processing waste, wood waste, and then gardening and landscape, which we mentioned earlier. We do not count waste that are managed on site. So if a business has their own composting or some other way of managing their organic waste, then that would not be counted. We don't count waste that are generated from the growth or harvest of food or fiber that are managed offsite by another business that is engaged in that business, and that are managed by business that enters into a voluntary agreement to sell or donate organic materials to another business for offsite use, and from natural disasters. So those are some of the exceptions in the law of what we don't count. So what are options for businesses? We've been talking about these requirements, and that if they're managing them themselves, then they don't need to have them processed through, you know, the other avenue. What are the options? Implement organic waste prevention strategies, separate organic waste and subscribe to a collection service. They can manage it on site. They can self-haul to a compost facility. And if they grow, harvest, or process food or fiber, they can enter an agreement to sell or donate organic materials to another business for offsite use. So those are some of the options. So the big question everybody wants to know is, are there any exemptions? And in this case, there are, under certain circumstances. So we have set up a business organic management exemption request option, and that's found on our website. And a description, what is required in order to request an exemption is a description of specific geographic areas that you request to be exempted, and how one or both of the following criteria are met in those areas. So back to those original requirements, there are no available businesses that collect and deliver organic materials. So there's nobody to haul or accept those materials, and no capacity at the solid waste facilities to feasibly and economically deliver organic materials from the jurisdiction. So these are the key bullets to pay attention to should you choose to pursue an exemption from the law, the organics collections and management law portion of the law. If the exemption request is based on cost, so this is another avenue, the jurisdiction must demonstrate that it's not economically feasible for the affected business to meet the requirements of the law. So there's ways to do that, and showing the higher costs that could include rate sheets or billing invoices or other things that are mentioned here. If the exemption request is based on affected businesses not being able to meet the requirements for other reasons, then we need a detailed explanation of that. So exemptions would remain in place through the end of the calendar year for which they are issued, and they can be extended. So there is an option for working through exemptions. And here's a little bit more about how, and this PowerPoint presentation, the slides were sent, and I will send an update because I think this was not all in there Some of this is information I just got recently, and so incorporated it in since it applies. So, and then how will these business requirements be enforced? The new law gives health departments the option to enforce these organics management requirements. There could be, if we aren't meeting the goals, there could be future regulations that would come down the pike. So that's how it's currently scheduled to be enforced. The second component that I mentioned that we want to touch base on, it's a little further out, and that's the 2027 residential and non-residential organic collection requirements. So this is specific to collection. There's a curbside collection requirement that organic material is required to be available to all residential and non-residential customers at least 26 weeks annually, beginning in 2027. So cities and counties, and so here's where the collection requirements apply. Cities and counties with a population of 25,000 or more, that sounds similar to the CPO stuff, the compost procurement stuff, or in urban growth areas that are not part of a city or town exempted under another criteria, like having a population of fewer than 25,000 for counties that do plan under the Growth Management Act. This is where it all gets a little crazy, but you know, just depending on this county, Thurston is plans under the Growth Management Act. Or in, so these are all ors, in census tracts with 75 plus people per square mile. So that one doesn't apply since you do plan under the Growth Management Act. And then there's all the little asterisks at the bottom, cities with, you know, with this, blah, 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 all unincorporated areas of the county outside of UGAs and census tracts with 75 plus people per square mile are exempt. UGAs and census tracts with 75 plus people per square mile that are wholly in unincorporated areas of a county are exempt if the unincorporated population of the county is fewer than 25,000 people. So there may be other exemption criteria that come out, but this is what we've got at this point for the curbside collection requirements. So for Thurston County, now we're looking at this last box, this last column on the right that's bolded. So Dakota is exempt, Lacey is Lacey, Olympia, and Tumwater all are not exempt. Rainier, Tenino, and Yelm exempt. The unincorporated areas of the county, this does apply. And in UGAs for unincorporated cities with populations of more than 25,000, that includes Grand Mound, unless they just, you know, pursue a waiver. So this is the map for that. And again, this is a few years out, but these areas in blue and light blue and purple or lavender, whatever that is, are areas that it applies. You can see the little Grand Mound down here, and then Olympia, Lacey, Tumwater, and of course up into other counties. But in this county, those are the areas that would where it would apply and a waiver would be required for exemption. So I have a bit of information here as far as places you can go to find out more information. So wanted to just make sure that, and again, these are in the PDF that I sent, and I will send the updated version as well. So you should have access to these. If not, let me know and I'll send you actual links otherwise. And there's that last slide. So
thanks, Laura. Does anybody have any questions or comments about Laura's report?
I do. Do we have any idea what the unintended consequences are of this system? Is it going to increase problems with vermin, pests? You know, and the logistics of being able to do this in a relatively safe and effective, you know, constant manner, so that we're not attracting unwelcome guests, being rodents and that sort of thing. And then the cost of this, putting it all into implementation. Anybody have any idea what this is gonna cost the average consumer and the local businesses in the area?
As far as past, yeah, that'll be a local management issue. I'm not sure, and the health department can work with businesses that have those issues. I'm sure they have some resources to help with that.
So
I'm not.
Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm not. The law doesn't address that particular aspect of this. And I understand that it's a concern and something that will be, individually for each business, more or less of a concern depending on what they're doing and how they choose to manage their organic materials. So, yeah,
I would encourage the health department to ask that question, to be proactive. What are going to be the unintended consequences of this new law and this new strategy? How is that going to affect businesses so that they can be a little more prepared? The cost, issues with rodents and anything else that we haven't talked about. There's always going to be something. Anytime the county or the state imposes something, there's always some kind of unintended consequence, and we never talk about that.
No, you're absolutely right. There definitely will be consequences, and probably beyond the rodent ones. And I'm sure we can always see legislative changes. This is just how the law stands as it is now. So, and I think you had a second part to your question beyond maybe it was just the unintended consequences. We at Ecology have not done any kind of provided any. We're just trying to wrap our brain around everything that's in this law and how it comes out and how it plays out and how we need to roll it out as well. So still in that process. And so there's always a chance, especially for these further out things like the 2027 one, there's always a chance there will be change between now and when those things become implemented. I'm not we do have legislative people who work on some of those kinds of policy pieces. I'm not in that department, but I'm happy to connect you if you have further questions for them about what they see coming up in the future, and maybe that would be good timing. There's also your state county group that works together to implement the county perspective and pass that on, advocates for the counties. And so that's another avenue for you to pursue, I think, if you have questions. And Travis Sutton, right, is the lead for that. So I'm sure Jeff can connect more with that. Hopefully I answered some of your questions, or not answered them, but gave you I don't have any additional information about that at this time, and we'll certainly check in to see if the folks who are working on this specifically at Ecology we do have a food center that was mandated by organics management law, recommended in the Use Food Well Washington plan. And that center is getting up and operating. They are staffing up now. And so there will be more from that as time goes along, and they get their feet under them and able to do more help for local jurisdictions.
Thank you, Laura. Any other questions or thoughts? That was a really informative presentation. I appreciate that. And I think we are going to have to be thinking about this buffet we're creating for rodents. And as you've noted, sometimes legislation changes to try to address issues that arise. So it'll be interesting to follow this one. Thank you for that.
You're most welcome. If anybody has additional questions, feel free to pass them on to me.
Great.
Thanks
and
for
thanks for providing those extra resources too in the PDF that you sent us. That's great. If there are no further questions of Laura, we'll move on to a presentation on Next Cycle Washington. Bryce, you are up.
All right, thank you so much. Let me get my screen share going here. Screen 2. Thanks for the opportunity to present to you all about this program that we've been running for a couple of years and are going to be continuing to run here in the future. Just a quick check. I see you, Renee, my screen. Thumbs up if you can see my screen. All right, awesome. So just real quick, I want to introduce myself. I'm Bryce Hesterman. I'm a senior consultant at Resource Recycling Systems, RRS. NextCycle is a program that we've developed, and Washington is the third state that we're doing it in. It's a statewide program. The first two were Colorado and Michigan. So this is something that we're rolling out various places around the country. Washington is a really promising place for this program, and I am the lead for Washington. These are my people that kind of bring joy to my life. My children, my wife, and my dog Lola. This is after a long run at the park. She loves chasing balls, and so yeah, she got to tire her out because she's got tons of energy. So I'm going to explain a little bit about what NextCycle is, kind of who's funding it, who's behind it, and then tell you a little bit about the program. So what it is it's a circular economy business and organization accelerator, business and project accelerator that provides technical support and networking and access to funding pathways for emerging and growing businesses and organizations that are really operating anywhere within the realm of circularity, whether it's recycling, reuse, waste prevention, that has basically like a business model behind it. These are, it's a business focused accelerator that is looking to support these organizations that have revenue models. And so nonprofits can certainly participate in it, but our goal is to help them be self-sustaining with some type of business model that is working to divert these materials from the landfill and find value in them within the economy is really the goal. So it's kind of an economic development targeted in this specific industry. It is an initiative that is funded both by state and local government. So currently, kind of up to this point, it's been funded through collaboration of King County, Seattle Public Utilities, and then the state departments of Commerce and Ecology, which their work together through the Recycling Development Center. So this is really kind of like in the vision of the Recycling Development Center, supporting these businesses and organizations that are going to help meet some of these goals that are coming out, like the one that Laura just presented about. There's a collaborative group of contractors that are implementing this program. So myself with RRS, and we're also working with Cascadia Consulting, Traversal Designs, and Start Consulting. So there's a collaborative team here that's executing the project from a collaborative team of funders as well. So that kind of is the theme with this program. Is really, it's meant to be a platform where we're bringing together folks that are working on these issues and creating networks and trying to spur opportunities for these businesses and organizations to grow. So I just want to give a little bit of background for why we're doing this and what the importance is. Here's a chart that's similar to one that Laura showed, where this is a characterization of the materials that are currently going to disposal in Washington based on the 2021 study. As you see, organics is here. Our number is slightly higher because we included food soiled paper in that, which we consider compostable paper. But you'll see here, many of these materials, especially the top three, there are solutions for recovering these. And the fact that they're going to the landfill doesn't need to be a foregone conclusion. And there are opportunities to recover them and create value from those materials, which can create jobs and revenue while maintaining environmental benefits. And so we did a little bit of analysis when we were getting started, and looking at this, there's 5.7 million tons that are disposed, which accounts to, on average, over 1,600 pounds per person per year. We broke that down into different categories where there are known technologies and solutions for recovering them. So you see here, 15% is commingled materials. Those are the things that you're going to put in your blue bin that are going to go to a recycling facility. 28% there is organics and source separated materials. That might be electronics, that might be plastic film, things like that it can't go into the commingled, but there are recovery pathways for that and down the line. And so basically we kind of looked at this whole universe and said, theoretically, 84% of that material could be recovered if the right business model and solution was out there. And based on this analysis, we came to a conclusion that we think that there is a reasonable opportunity to capture 35% of what's going to disposal on an annual basis through these practices that are tried and true in parts of the state, and expanding those. So we kind of ran those numbers through an economic model, and just to kind of frame what is this opportunity in front of us from an economic perspective. And if that 35% were to be diverted from the landfill, processed and remanufactured within the state of Washington, that could lead to 75,000 jobs, 6.4 billion annual labor income, and 32 billion economic output. So, you know, this is a big kind of assumption. This isn't saying this is what's going to happen, but it frames the opportunity for us as we're kind of making the case for this as a significant economic opportunity, actually. We, of course, don't want to discount the climate benefits. As Laura explained, you know, the contribution, especially of the organics and methane to global warming and climate change is significant. And so removing that 35% can have an impact of taking potentially over 1 million passenger vehicles off the road if successful. And furthermore, we really see this as, you know, there are some social equity benefits that can happen as well. If we're supporting if we're creating an inclusive program, developing capacity for folks that have not necessarily been part of the solution before, and we're providing access to communities that haven't had access before, creating economic opportunities for groups that haven't had opportunity before, there are some ways that we can do this in an equitable way to kind of raise that kind of that issue as well, and really support those goals around that. And so what we kind of propose to this program is really to shift the model. You know, we predominantly live in a linear economy, and what we're saying is that we want to shift to a circular economy, where it's not just recycling. That's one pathway, but we're also talking about reuse, repair, prevention, and kind of keeping those materials in use longer at each point, and creating more economic opportunity. Because when it takes a one-way trip to the landfill, there's limited economic opportunity than if we are actually recovering and creating new value from these materials. So the pillars of this program really are those three aspects. Of course, circular economy, waste diversion is the core, but we're also looking for those solutions that simultaneously have climate benefits and benefits to social equity. And the way that we look at this is that we have two different tracks for types of businesses and organizations that we support. We have upstream tracks, which are focused on the waste prevention and reuse models, and then downstream, which are looking at the recycling, end of life, you know, turning it into an input to a new product rather than reusing the same product over and over again. And so we want to be, of course, as I said before, inclusive of that whole kind of circularity value chain. So the way that the program supports these organizations and businesses, there is a grant program that we ran this past year where we are providing small amounts, $10,000 grants. We gave 40 grants this past year to really seed some really early stage ideas that are doing feasibility studies, doing market research, trying to kind of build the pipeline of kind of emerging next generation businesses that are going to help solve these problems. And then we have a circular accelerator where we have a 6-month program of intensive business training for these organizations that have shown some early traction. They have some market presence, and we want to help them grow, gain investment, and really take their business and projects to the next level. And we supported 15 teams through the accelerator in this past year. The accelerator provides this business planning and consulting. And so we have a staff, you know, the program is staffed by consultants. We provide free consulting services for each of the organizations that come in through one-on-one support. We have a intensive 2-day accelerator camp where there's intensive workshops and matchmaking sessions and networking and practice pitch competition. There's a business canvas workshop. We help them develop a pitch, and the last part of the program is actually a pitch competition showcase where they are able to kind of have a platform to talk about what they're doing publicly to gain support through partnership and potentially investors. And then throughout the process, we're helping them identify potential funders and making introductions and matchmaking, help to find partners and making introductions and matchmaking to kind of bring everyone together and create this collaborative space to help grow these businesses and organizations. With the seed grants, like I said, they're small $10,000 grants for a very early stage. They also receive one-on-one technical support. It's not as involved as the accelerator, but it is, we don't just hand them money and say, go off and do it. We actually help them to kind of create their plan and support it, and then help them to do some networking and matchmaking to hopefully put them in a position to apply for the accelerator in the future. This one, we don't, so back to this one, we are going to be opening applications this fall for the accelerator. We're not sure if we're going to be doing the grant again. Currently, there's not a budget for it, but we are seeking additional funding to do this grant program to kind of continue to build this pipeline. One thing that I want to raise about this program is that we used a co-design, really deep stakeholder engagement process as we built it. So like I said, we had done this program in Colorado and Michigan, but we knew that coming to Washington, the conditions are different. There's different organizations that are already providing certain support. The needs are different from the businesses and organizations here in Washington. And so we brought together these stakeholders to actually help design the program and develop some tactics for us to really have the most significant impact, not duplicate efforts that already exist, and find the right lane. And so what we did is ask them, like, how can we make this program as equitable and inclusive as possible to make sure that we're helping all parts of the state and not just certain aspects. And so we developed a set of tactics through this stakeholder engagement process, which then we were kind of handed off to then implement as we're rolling out the program. And so that includes, we want to make sure that our communication is accessible, that we're not using a lot of jargon, that we're stating in a way that someone that is not necessarily an industry insider can understand and potentially participate in. We want to share power. We want to actually bring other people to help decide on which projects are the projects to select, and to help guide us in are we kind of reaching the right audiences, are we reaching the right parts of the state to where the needs and gaps are actually met. We want to lower barriers to entry to improve applicants' outcome. And so I'll talk a little bit about how we do that with application support, but we really want to create this supportive ecosystem so that no one feels excluded, and that this is an opportunity that anyone sees as a possibility for them to grow their vision. And part of that was, who's in the room. Traditionally, in the Next Cycle model, this is a public-private partnership. Within Washington, we added community as a third sector. And so by community, we kind of brought in community individuals that have historically been included, which includes these areas. So, low income, marginalized, BIPOC, and rural communities. We wanted to make sure they were in the room to help us figure out how to reach them and fulfill their needs as well. So let's look at the outcomes from year one. Like I mentioned here, 15 teams were accepted in the accelerator. 41 seed grants were distributed. That link right there could actually go to a quick blurb on all the different teams there if you're interested in learning more. There will be a QR code on one of these slides to bring you to the website as well. But it's really interesting to see all the amazing work that they're doing. Geographic reach, we did see, a more significant group of participants in the Puget Sound area, which is, of course, where a lot of the population is. But we made really concerted efforts to reach out to other parts of the state. And this is an area that we're always looking for additional support. You'll see here in Thurston County, we actually had several participants there. And this is something that kind of why I want to talk to you is that as we're rolling into this next round of the accelerator, if you are aware of organizations and businesses that show promise, but you think need a little bit of help to kind of take it to the next level, to grow and expand, provide services that are not currently available, we would love to have some referrals for you to refer them to the program. When we talk about representation, there was a lot of women participation, a fair amount of BIPOC, veteran, and other self-identified categories to just kind of, we look at this for how, how are we doing for making this inclusive and making it feel like it's something for everyone. In terms of the organizational types, you'll see 58% business, 42% community organizations, which are either nonprofits or in some cases with the seed grants, they actually were working under fiscal sponsorship of a nonprofit. So they aren't even a nonprofit yet, but we're helping to kind of create a pathway for them to become a nonprofit. And when we're looking at that value chain, there's a lot of these upstream solutions focused on share, repair, reuse, which I think is this area where there's a lot of kind of growth opportunities, and it's wide open space. There's some emerging business models for reuse and share and repair, but there's a lot of opportunity for growth there. And then of course we have recycling and food waste represented as well. When we talk about the materials that these organizations were focused on, plastics, commingled materials, organics, and textiles were the top ones, which I think makes sense, kind of looking at that characterization work as well. These are a lot of the materials that we're seeing out there that could be diverted. But you'll see here there's across the board metal, paper, construction, demolition, electronics, glass. So we're really material agnostic, and we're just looking for the right mentality and kind of business model potential. Through the pitch competition last year, just an example of a few of the teams to share. I do encourage you to go to the website to learn about some of the other teams, but we have Refugee Artisans Initiative, which is a nonprofit that upcycles industrial textile scraps into products such as bags, blankets, coats, things like that. And it's actually supporting refugee women who have a 60% unemployment rate, so creating jobs for these women that come in with very few opportunities. And this is an opportunity to give them job training and create job opportunities for them. So it's a really awesome organization. Restaurants to Garden, they do organic waste collection from restaurants and are processing it using a really innovative method of bokashi and hot composting at a very localized scale. And then Ravel is a textile recycling company. So they actually take waste textiles from, say, Goodwill that can't be resold, and they actually have a process to break it down to the fibers and actually recover the polyester fiber to spin new yarn and make new material out of. So that's a really incredible one. They're raising seed funding right now. They're looking for a Series A in a couple of years, and so we do have the gamut of like the nonprofit and really these organizations. Ravel had an SBIR grant, and they're raising in the range of millions of dollars from venture capital to grow their program, to grow their business. So let's talk about the impact that these teams have had. So to date, the teams that we've supported have raised over $13 million. And they're currently, within the next year, they're currently actively raising another $26 million. Impact on jobs to date, these organizations we've worked with, and actually I should point out, this is just the accelerator teams. We haven't had a chance to do the research on the seed grant teams. So this is just those 15 teams that came through the accelerator. Those 15 teams have created 70 jobs to date. They are in their immediate growth plans. They're looking to create another 100 jobs in the next year. And when we asked them, what's your vision for 5 years from now, and aggregated all of their answers, they're hoping to add over 600 jobs within 5 years. And so, big plans for growth. And of course, not all of these teams are going to succeed, but some of them will, and we're going to be there to support them. Impact environment, so far, they've diverted over 4 million pounds of materials. And within the next year, they're hoping to divert another 10 million. We're talking textiles, food scraps, glass, plastics, mixed recyclables, all of the above. And then when we ask them, okay, what's your plan for 5 years from now? They're looking at when they're fully commercially scaled. They're looking at over 285,000 tons within 5 years, which when we ran that through a calculator, that would reduce over 750,000 metric tons of CO2, equivalent to taking 160,000 cars off the road. So, this is kind of our approach. We're looking to collect data and look at our the support that we're providing to evaluate, are we doing what we're trying to do? And so each year we're going to be continuing to track this data and see, are we bringing money into the economy? Are we creating jobs? Are we creating environmental benefits, et cetera? And so kind of my call to action for you all is that, this accelerator program is opening again in the fall. So, if like I said, if you're aware of organizations and businesses that might benefit from this program, it's not direct funding for the accelerator, but it is a lot of support for them to develop their plans and put them in a position to receive funding. Then I would encourage you to connect them with me. There is application support available. We have office hours where we'll meet with them one-on-one to talk about their concepts and kind of help pre-qualify. Is this a good idea for you to apply? Or maybe it's not something, because we don't want to waste people's time if they're not a good fit. Application parties are where we actually have a group meeting to get together to talk about kind of the criteria that we're looking for. And then we have breakout rooms where folks talk about their ideas and kind of create some peer-to-peer support for improving their concepts and application. And then we have application mentors where we provide stipends for people in different communities and what we've defined as like underserved communities and some of the rural areas and some of the low income areas. We'll have mentors, so applicants coming in, if they need a little extra support, we can pair them with a volunteer that's gonna help them think through the process, again, to lower those barriers. So I'll kind of leave you with this. There's a QR code to our website. If you want to learn more, there's a mailing list that we have, and so you'll get alerts anytime something new is happening. We're doing events a couple of times a year. The showcase is a really amazing, it's a fun event. If you go to our website, you can actually see that we have the pitch videos for each of the teams. You can see their 7-minute pitch and kind of hear about all of them on YouTube. But that's an awesome event that we do every year. I'd encourage you to get involved, share, send referrals our way, or if you have other ideas, let us know. If you have a particular problem that you're like, okay, we need a solution for this, let us know, and that can help guide us in what we're asking for when we're kind of putting out our communications for calling applications. We can even say, there's a need for this particular solution that can help drive more solutions in that area. Like Laura's talking, I think organics is a really interesting case here, where to meet these goals, there's a lot of business activity that needs to happen. And if that doesn't exist in some of these places, Next Cycle is a program that can help either expand companies that are working in some counties and expand them to new counties, or grow from the inside someone that's maybe doing backyard composting and they like nailed it, they know what they're doing, and they can really expand that. We can help them kind of locate a site, develop a plan, reach out to customers, develop a marketing plan, all of that kind of stuff. So that's all I have for today, and I'm happy to take any questions at this time.
Really interesting presentation. Thanks, Bryce. Does anybody have questions or comments or want to volunteer or anything else? I can't see you, so I don't know if there are hands up or not, but I'm changing that right now. Does anybody have their hand up? I'm not seeing any. So I will just say thanks, Bryce, and appreciate the QR code. I know I clicked on it, so hopefully you'll get some action out of that.
Awesome.
Yeah,
thanks
really
so much, everyone.
Appreciate your presentation. Jeff, are we ready to talk about our SWAC membership of the future?
Certainly. Okay, I'll give a really quick recap just to remind everybody where we're at. So if you recall, we talked about this back in January at the first meeting about the issue about our ordinance. One, it limits us at 15 members. We already were kind of, in a way, not really over it, but because of the addition of, we didn't have an agricultural member in our ordinance. However, Ecology's rule says that we should have an agricultural member. So Greg Schonbachler was serving in double duty, where he was the agricultural rep as well as a citizen rep. So having to address that, as well as with the previous fall election, creating our ordinance says that we need to have a citizen rep for each commissioner district. To date, had been 3 commissioner districts, thus our 3 citizen reps. However, with that expansion now to 5 commissioner districts coming shortly, the discussion was to be, if we stuck with the letter of that, of our ordinance, that would mean we'd have to increase that up to 5 citizens. So the discussion that was held in January, and then we came back again and talked about this back at our July meeting, was there was an interest among this group to initially to maintain the number of citizens at 3, but there was a discussion of potentially, instead of them being representing specific commissioner districts, but have those individuals be at large. So at our July meeting, we presented 2 variations on a potential ordinance change. The first one was to, what I discussed, increase the total number of members of this council to 16, which would account for the, having that agricultural rep be its own and not doubled up, while keeping the number of citizens at 3, but making them at large positions, with the caveat being that those 3 citizens all be from, even though they're at large, they would have to be from separate commissioner districts, so we wouldn't double up with 2 individuals from a specific commissioner district. The other option that we talked about last month was continuing to keep the committee membership at 15 as is now, having the agricultural industry rep be a specific member, but then reducing the citizen representatives from 3 to 2, so that would allow us to continue to keep that maximum committee size. And with the same caveat that they would be at large, they would be, but from different commissioner districts still. So if you recall, we had some discussion back and forth, but the thought that you would even, you've had a month now to consider that your previous discussion, that you would hopefully, that was the goal, would come to a conclusion and hopefully a consensus on which of these we would want to bring forward, because obviously it would be a ordinance change. It would need to go in front of the Board of County Commissioners at a public hearing. So there would be that process that would follow, depending on what the recommendations of this committee is. So with that, I want to kick it back to the committee for discussion and see where you guys are at.
So let's open it up for discussion, and hopefully we can kind of come to consensus and then offer a motion and take a vote on which option we prefer. Any thoughts, comments? By the way, Bryce has added his email address in the chat. If you would like to reach out to him personally, check that out. I'll just start by saying I kind of like small boards, small and nimble. So I'm leaning toward the 15-member option, but I could certainly be swayed if someone is highly committed to a 1-member addition to our team.
I would agree with Renee's comment. I think the board in its current capacities, I think we do well. I think we have good engagement and good conversation. And at the end of the day, we get the business done that we're here for. Adding members to that would make it a little more challenging, but we could still manage. But my preference would be similar to Renee. I would prefer a more nimble board just for that cohesion.
The other thing,
oh, sorry.
I was just going to say the other thing is sometimes it's hard to recruit citizen volunteers. Those of you who serve on city councils and such have a responsibility to be here, and I appreciate that you are here. You bring an awful lot to this conversation, but finding citizen reps and business representatives is a little bit harder. So I think maintaining the 15-member number probably will serve us well into the future. Go ahead.
Yeah, I was just only So with the increasing of, or no, the keeping the member the same, my only concern would be making sure that we have a quorum every time. I know there's been a couple meetings where maybe a quorum wasn't met. And so as long as we're meeting that quorum, I think that's sustainable. That would be most ideal. So if that's a good thing, we're meeting the quorum, let's keep it. If we add a member, does quorum increase? Yeah, it does, right? Because it has to be half, right?
It would up it by one. Well, again, it all depends on the number of seated and active members. So that does change.
That's
so
my
we have
only
vacancies.
concern.
Yeah.
So I think today's a great example. Everybody knew that we needed to take a vote today, and we exceeded our quorum requirement. So it's a great point, Joseph, and thanks for bringing it up. But I think when we know we have a vote to take, this group has been really responsive about showing up and participating. So I really appreciate about this group, but that was a great comment. Thank you, Joseph.
Who would the extra member be?
Jeff.
Certainly. So at this point, so Greg is being seated as the agricultural rep. So he currently also doubles as District 1. So, you know, right as it stands now, we would need to recruit District 1. However, if they're made at large, when the new redistricting comes, it would be basically, it'd have to be a district that's not in the same district as Richard Moon or Renee. So, because again, there are two current citizen reps, and they're whatever, and then you guys might change district numbers potentially when they redraw the maps too. So it would just need to be whoever that third person that we recruit would need to be just from a district other than those two, given this new scenario. I think Greg has his hand raised.
Yeah, just wanted to say a couple of things. You know, first of all, I'm happy to continue at a dual capacity. The workload is not overwhelming, so it's fine. You know, whatever the group decides, I'm good with. But I'm also fine with continuing the way it is. And secondly, you know, I think in the past, I think I've seen more absence from, you know, finding a member for certain areas than we've had a lack of quorum. You know, so I think we went without a couple of city officials for quite a while before those seats were filled. So I certainly resonate with the concept that it's hard to fill some of these seats sometimes. And then yeah, so that's basically all. And I guess my last point would be that, you know, I also agree that smaller boards are easier to manage and easier to make decisions with. So
you have served capably in your dual role. Thank you for that, Greg.
Thanks.
Are there any other comments or questions or things we can clarify before we entertain a motion? I'm looking for hands. And I am not seeing any. So the comments have sort of driven toward the 15-member option. So I would entertain a motion that the SWAC recommend to the Board of County Commissioners a county code change, changing the makeup of the Solid Waste Advisory Committee to a 15-member group based on the makeup that's outlined in the staff report for that size of an organization. That was horribly worded, but we can make it better. We can make it better, but I think you know where I'm going with this.
I'll second that.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean the motion, not your comments afterwards, but the motion I second.
Yeah, okay. Thank you.
Actually, I think a point of order. I think she said she would entertain.
I would entertain a motion.
Oh,
So the motion has not been made
So
yet.
Ed, if you want to make the motion, then we'll go from there.
I will make that motion. Thank you.
Thank you.
And I would second that motion.
Perfect. We have 2 seconds, which is always a delight. Any more comment before we take a vote? Jeff, I think we're already on the Board of County Commissioners agenda coming up pretty soon, so I appreciate that we're getting this handled today.
Yeah, we are scheduled for a briefing, and then we'll brief the board on what the recommendation is here, and then if they're comfortable with that, then it'll end up getting scheduled for a public hearing.
Thanks, Jeff. Any other comments, thoughts before we take a vote? I am not seeing any hands. So all those in favor of the motion, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. All opposed, please say nay. The motion passes. Thanks, everybody, for that thoughtful conversation. I appreciate it. And with that, Jeff, you're up for your report.
Sure. Okay. Well, good. Well, thank you again just for coming to a conclusion on that. We will move that forward. And so I appreciate your guys' thought and discussion on that topic. So we just want to make sure that we're in compliance with our ordinances. So all right. So this as far as updates. First off, again, I already, we've already talked about it briefly, but I had already planned to just again thank Delroy once again for his service. And with that, though, I do want to just mention that obviously we will need to be recruiting for a new waste industry rep. So we'll be putting that out for anybody who's interested to apply. The applications, I believe, for advisory committees is online. So anyway, just wanted to put that out there. That is a new vacancy we'll have as of after today. So, well, at the end of this month, I believe was your official resignation. So anyway, anybody interested, please apply, and we'll try to get that position filled. A couple just project updates to start. On the work reconfiguration project, work is ongoing on the pre-design study, which is being done by HDR. I know Tracy Bills from HDR is here, and she's working on that project. They're firming up the basis of design document on the proposed option that we've discussed previously. So we're expected to have that basis of design document completed in approximately a month. So just kind of a heads up that will be coming to this group for to review as well. So you'll be able to see the results of that shortly, but it's kind of want to give you an update on that project. It's continuing to move ahead. Is there anybody have questions on that one before I jump forward? Seeing none. We're actively working on putting together a bid documents for our new compactor here at the Waste and Recovery Center. So we're working with HDR on getting that whole bid package together. We expect to have that out and open for bids this fall. So it's kind of just a review on that is we'll be getting a brand new compactor and removing the current one. However, we will be, as part of this bid, we will be saving and mothballing, so to speak, the existing one. Going to do some renovation on it and mothball it, because we will be holding that back for when we do this work reconfiguration. We're expanding the transfer station building, is we would then reinstall that compactor into the updated transfer station building. So it'll give us a level of redundancy where we'll actually have two compactors available. Because right now, when the compactor is down, it creates issues as far as being able to move waste. So that, again, as I mentioned, we're getting that bid documents ready, and with that, the expectation of getting out to bid this fall. And then one other project update: the South County Transfer Station siting study is they've performed, HDR once again has performed a GIS-based analysis of potential properties that could be suitable for the development of a South County transfer station. They're just finalizing a scoring of potential sites based upon a weighted criteria. A report with their findings is expected at the beginning of September. So again, there's another project that we'll be having things for you to look at and comment on here shortly. And let's see. I did mention briefly also Amanda being promoted up into our senior program manager. Again, hooray for her. Related to that, we are currently recruiting for our new solid waste planner. For a while, she kind of gets to fill both roles. Because she still has, till we get a new individual hired, there's still things that she's doing there, but we're actively recruiting and actually heading into the interview process here shortly. So I'm excited about that, getting that back up to speed. Just a few other little items I want to mention. I think we may have mentioned that we had staff, Rob in particular, that was doing some multi-family recycling contamination study. So for over a 6-month period, is going out and taking a look at the recycling containers at various multifamily facilities to look at levels of contamination. Basically, the report is almost complete on the findings of that 6-month study. And I believe that when I hear they'll be ready to share that at the September SWAC meeting. They hear what were the findings, what are we seeing in multifamily. As you know, multifamily recycling is problematic, generally speaking, even more so than the regular residential curbside. Typically much higher levels of contamination. So that will be forthcoming as well. Additionally, in the education and outreach field, we have been over this year putting out billing. Well, for those of you that that have Waste Connections pickup, I mean, if you're a customer of Waste Connections here in the county, we've been having billing inserts. We've had information that we put out through their billing inserts. It's a nice way and relatively inexpensive way to get information out to residents, on various subjects of, recycling, waste reduction, composting, etc. So our August and September issue of our Thurston Solid Waste News is currently being distributed to all LeMay garbage and recycling customers. So print copies are going to be distributed to almost 36,000 customers during this billing cycle. So it's another way that we've been it's a good reach, get a pretty broad reach. It's a relatively inexpensive way to get to people without having to, because typically postage is a killer when you're trying to do, that kind of level of outreach. So it's something that we'll continue to do. And it seems like it's been working fairly well. I do want to mention that if you're interested, and if you have not done it yet, the next cycle of the Master Recycler Composter training class is coming up in September. If you're interested in participating and becoming a Master Recycler Composter, check our website. Time to sign up is actually now. I think they're looking to get folks signed up within the next couple of weeks so they can know what class sizes will be. So it's a great course. You learn a lot, and if you're not familiar with it, again, you can ask any of us or visit our website and they give you a little more information about that. And I think with that, I'm going to leave it at that. There'll be more updates here. I think next month we'll have our E&O folks going to give you more updates on some of the other programs that they're doing as well. So in that sector. So with that, do anybody have any questions about anything else? You guys are easy today. Thank you.
We are. There's been so few questions. Thanks for your report, Jeff. Any thoughts, questions, things you want to share with Jeff? I'm not seeing anything. Oh, yes, there are a couple. There's Richard and Laura. So Richard, you can go first.
Yeah, I was just interested in, now that the Flare project is completed, I think, I'd be interested in going out and just seeing that in operation. And I was wondering how best to schedule that. Also, just to talk about updated projects going on at the work. Just need.
Actually, for any of you, if you're interested in coming out and having like a site tour, you can either schedule with myself or our facility manager, Gerald Towsley. So just give us a call and we'll set something up. We're happy to give tours at any time. So,
okay, great.
But as far as the flare goes, it's yeah, the exciting one was about a week and a half ago. The old huge flares finally came down. They had the crane out here, and those things are monsters. They're huge. So they've stripped a lot of the old hardware out, and yeah. So again, that's just let us know if any of you are interested in having a tour. We can,
So Richard, the tour is time really well spent. It's really interesting to see in a guided way the operation at the work, and I'm sure the flare system is dramatically different now that the big ones have come down. So it might be kind of fun to see it again. So I hope you will take advantage of the site tour invitation, because
I have previously.
Yeah,
I
it's
had
really,
seen with
it
the
is.
large flares out
Yeah.
there, and that's why I was curious.
I
Particularly
totally get that.
how things look now that now that those monsters have been removed, and we have
Yeah.
a more suitable.
I think I'm
flare
gonna have to try to get out there too, because I think it'd be interesting to see.
I'll try to get it.
Absolutely.
I can't get it to go straight.
Yeah, the size differential is amazing. Those little tiny candlesticks compared to those
Yeah.
huge stacks. So yeah.
And Laura had her hand up as well.
I just wanted to mention a hot off the presses opportunity for county funding for a ramp litter cleanup program that just came out. Jeff, you're nodding, so you may know about it. I'll throw a link in the chat here for folks who are on that. Essentially, the funding is $60,000 are the grant awards, helping to clean up. It's sort of a welcome thing, a tourist-oriented thing. Let's clean up the highway ramps, and it's for the 23-25 biennium. It's opening shortly. If it's not, there is a virtual meeting tomorrow about sort of an introductory meeting tomorrow from 1 to 2:30. So that's off of that link I just sent. So, and no matching funds for this one.
Oh.
So just thought I'd throw that out real quickly. We just got information about it recently. I wanted to share.
Great, thanks, Laura. Anything else for the good of the order before we call it a day? I'm looking for hands. And I'm not seeing any. So one more time, a big thanks to Delroy for his 31 or so years of service, not only to our county, but to the state. Delroy, you've just been a wonderful and informed asset to our group. And with that, Jeff, unless you have anything more, do you? Nope.
Yep, I'm good.
With that, I will adjourn this meeting, and thank you all for your wonderful conversation today. I think we are prepared to move forward with our recommendation to the Board of County Commissioners. Thank you for that. And this meeting is adjourned.
Thank you, everybody.
See everybody later.
Bye-bye.
Thank you.